Okay, so this video here, I'm just gonna, I'm not gonna go completely into detail here. I made a couple videos on how to do this, but what I'm gonna do is show you how to extend this part out, the plug part of this design. And basically it's this shape here, and this is where it exists, and I'm trying to add it on top of here, and I want to share that same center core. And if you look here, this point, this point, this point, this point, and the center point here all line up. They all share the same center. The reason being is because I just continued these diagonal lines, and I continue these diagonal lines, and I'll explain that in a second. So this is where I ended up on one of my demos, and it's a little bit smaller, so it might not be as easy to demonstrate. But what I'm going to do first is I'm going to cross these corners here. Oops. And I'm going to extend the cross, so I'm just going to make them a little longer. Than originally. And then after I extend those crosses, I'm going to make a larger box, but I retain the center core part. So what I did here, if you can look at the blue line here, you can kind of see this big rectangle there, and I roughed that in too. I was thinking about how would that work. It's going to be a vertical line. I think I might have to extend this line a little bit more. So if I were to draw a line down, over, up, and back. So this feels like it might be a little too big, right? So what I'm going to do is maybe just go to about right here. I think I can go a little smaller, so this would go down, over, up, and back. I think that would be more appropriate of a scale that you see here. So this little dot here, I'm just gonna go up a little bit more. That being said, I roughed in a sketch to get a sense of scale, and now I've committed to where this dot is going to exist on the diagonals that I extended out. And then from that dot, I'm going to draw a line straight down until it meets this red diagonal line there. From there, I put a dot, and then I connect it to the left vanishing point, which is right there. And I pull it this way. Once it meets this line, I draw a line perfectly vertical up. Once it meets that line, which is the other diagonal right here, you can see it's right there. Then I run it over to the vanishing point, and for some reason it's not lining up perfectly, and this is what stinks about videos, because sometimes you have to problem solve. Let me see here. I don't know why that's the case. Strange. Maybe because I did some stuff that was wrong. Okay, so what I'm going to do, instead of going around this way, I'm going to try to go the other way to see if that works. So now this line comes over here. I'm going to take it once it hits this diagonal. Then I make a vertical line straight down, which is right here. And then I connect it to the vanishing point, which is right here. No, this video is not working out for me, is it? Vertical line. This line comes through. They meet right here, and then it connects to the vanishing point right here. And then this line meets right here. And it must be the vertical line that I didn't draw a really good vertical line, possibly. Okay, so it somewhat works there. It worked out well here. I think this is so small, and I rushed through it in the beginning that it wasn't panning out. But I have stretched the truth a little bit. You can kind of see my rectangle. That's where it exists. Now the next thing I'm going to do is these four corners, I'm going to pull in that direction. So I take my vanishing point, take one of my four corners right here, run it that way, take my other four corner here, run it that way, take my other fourth corner here, run it that way, and the other four corner that's right here, and run it that way. The thickness of all this, I think, would be safe if I just said, maybe something like this. Well, it would be like this. Okay. So I always like to rough things in just to get a sense of scale. And to be honest, I'm kind of running out this vanishing point. If it was out there, things wouldn't be as distorted. But right now, I'm going to take this line and I'm going to draw a line straight up. When it meets this corner here, I'm going to connect it to the left vanishing point, which is right there. When it meets this line here, I'm going to draw a vertical line straight down. And then this line here, I'm going to connect to the vanishing point right there. So there you go. This is going to be where this shape exists, and it shares the center core because I extended those lines, and now I can start to shape this form, which I made another video on. And all you have to do is cross your corners. That finds your center. This is the center here. Make a vertical line straight up and down. That vertical line is right here. As you can see, these two lines share the same center. That's good. And then you can start to deconstruct this. So the way I deconstructed this, again, I made a separate video on it. I found the center here, and then I worked my way out. I also found the center here, and I connected to the vanishing point there. And I went from, this is kind of really hard because it's such an extreme angle, but you're going to find yourselves in situations like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a point right here, and I'm just kind of made up the distance between the center point, and I went over just a hair, and then I'm going to connect that point to that area down there. I want to do the same thing on this side, but in order to do that, I have to figure out how much further out I am here, and I just can't guess. But the way to take that guesswork away is, do you see how this line intersects the diagonal line right there? I'm going to take that point, make a point, run your ruler into it, connect it to the left vanishing point, run it to the other side. All I need to know is where it intersects this side. Once I figure that out, then I can draw a line straight up. And then I put a point here. So what I thought was here is actually here. And then what you do is you take that point and then you connect it down to this part here. So when you're doing these extreme angles, you'd be surprised on how different the spacing is between a halfway point on this side as opposed to the other side, because it goes in perspective. It's much shorter. And then from there, I'm gonna use this guy. Then you can start to add your curves, and then you can add your curve here. So then that, and then it goes down, would be, I mean, this is a little bit different of a curve, but I'm just simplifying things, would be this curve here. And you kind of see it forming there. And I'm just going to quickly, basically, this little prong here that comes out there, and these forms that come out there, they would just come out here. And this little prong would be somewhere about here, and it would come out about here. So you can kind of see how this works. And this rectangle here, I would do the same thing as in the back, as you see here. You just draw the same form, and then you connect the highest point from here and the lowest point from here. Now this is a little bit more in detail, like I rounded the corners off there, I rounded the corners off there. I'm showing transparency. I'm not erasing any of these lines because I want you to show transparency. And then later on, you're going to get your red pencil and you're just going to go in and kind of like darken some of those lines, the exterior part of the lines. So you can see it here forming. Now again, this is an extreme viewpoint because the vanishing point is right here. So anything that gets closer to that vanishing point is going to get really compressed. But it's fine. It's interesting. I think it's that's one of the fun things about perspective. The next video I'm going to make is how to put the wheels in. Wheels are going to probably go like right here. I'm going to do big 10 speed wheels, about this big. And once I put one in, into the scale, I'm going to put another one in. You figure the size out and then you just run it over and then you can put a wheel on the other side as well. All right, that's it.